Hello Renegade golfers, and welcome to this week's Champion Success Strategy series on ball position and tee height. Let's first take a look at tee height, and we've got our example player Steve Stricker up on the upper left hand side, and then Sergio Garcia on the lower left hand side, and then Fred Couples on the main frame on the right side. And let's take a look at where we see the tee height for Steve Stricker is quite high. About half the ball is above the top of the club. And then with Sergio Garcia, it's much lower. You can see that very little of the ball is above the top of the club. And with Fred Couples, it's hard to say. We can guesstimate that some of his balls would be above the top of the club, but he does hover his club at setup. Now let's take a look at ball position. And with ball position, we can see that at setup, with Steve Stricker, I'm going to draw this line on a slight angle because that camera is at a slight angle. So that ball position is probably on the inside corner of his left armpit. And then with Sergio Garcia, we see the ball position is a little bit farther back, more in the middle. And then with Fred Couples, we can see that the ball position is again forward, and probably the most forward of all these players is where Fred Couples' ball position is in relation to his feet, but again in relation to his upper body's position is slightly different than these other players. So we can see that even though it's all the way up to the inside of his left heel, we can see it's still in line with his left armpit as far as his upper body goes. Now let's take a look at ball position at impact, because more important than ball position at setup is ball position at impact. So now let's take a look at Steve Stricker. And we'll go to impact, and we can see his hands are slightly ahead of the golf ball, and most of his lower body is slightly ahead of the golf ball. His right knee is almost caught up to the golf ball, and his head is considerably behind the golf ball at impact. Now we'll take a look at Sergio Garcia, and keep in mind at setup, his ball position was further back. And now we'll take a look at impact, and we can see his hands are a little bit farther forward than the golf ball at impact, which is a result of the setup. His right knee is a little bit farther forward, but isn't that interesting how much his head is just as far behind the golf ball as Steve Stricker's? And that's because of excessive upper body tilt away from the target, really keeping his head way back of the golf ball. And that's how he's able to get some height with having his hands so far forward. Now let's take a look at Fred Couples coming into impact. And at impact, we can see Fred Couples' similar position of Steve Stricker, and as far as the hands being just slightly ahead of the golf ball, and then his head is approximately the same distance back behind the golf ball. So you see a lot of similarities here and some differences, and that'll give you some ideas on how to manage your ball position and how to manage your tee height. All right, I'll see you next week. Have a great day.